Alright, welcome back to Cosmic Reach in my pre-alpha world for once in a while. I think it's been about 2 months, maybe a little bit more than that, since I've last built something here. Most of my previous videos in this game have just been community roundups and other miscellaneous things. I wanted to play this world again since we've had many updates come out in the meantime. And one of those updates, this is actually, the crafting update came out recently, and then on top of that, there was also a furnace update, and there's a furnace block right here in my inventory, as you can see. I've played around with that a little bit, but I haven't made a video on that. There's nothing I'm going to be doing with furnaces right now, because in this world, I'm just going to be playing creative, and I don't think that's ever going to change. Once pre-alpha moves on to alpha version, and there is a legitimate survival mode, then I will just kind of transition out of this world into a new one. So this will always be a creative world. One thing I wanted to do for this episode is I want to plant a bunch of trees all around the lunar surface so that when I'm standing in the center, I can look around and there's just a bunch of trees and wildlife on top of the lunar surface so that it's not all just gray stone everywhere. It's not going to be super easy to do, and I'm not going to hit the entire lunar surface just because there's so much of it. But to an extent, I want there to be a reasonable amount of trees out there. And then maybe I'll put colored lamps in them or something like that. You'll recall that I used to have trees, they were kind of makeshift trees, and they were in the middle in the snowy area. But I took them all down because I didn't really like the look and I thought it was a little bit too crowded. It's actually one of the thumbnails of my pre-alpha world videos. And then I just, I extended these paths and I just got rid of all the trees. But now that we have naturally growing trees, I can just use those instead. I'm not sure if they grow on the moon surface or if it's just in the other world generation type, the Nostalgic Islands world generation type, but I think if I had to bet on it, I bet you that they do grow. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. I really hope they do, or else this is all going to be for nothing. Let's get started with that. And one more thing that you might notice that I noticed with this game after logging in again, if I move close to, let's say, these iron blocks and maybe those glass blocks on the observatory shaft, you can see that it doesn't look like there's an issue. They look as they should look. There's no issues or anything like that. Same with the glass blocks. But then as I start to fly away, you'll start to notice everything kind of goes to crap. You see a lot of lines running through the glass, and the main thing, you start to see like the iron blocks are a little bit flashy. The main issue that I see is that as I just move upward, if you look at the iron blocks, you can see green lines, like vertical green lines that are just going up and down the iron blocks. Same thing for the glass blocks, you can see vertical white lines that are kind of coming down like raindrops. I don't know why that's happening. Before, it was happening also with these logs on the table that's holding up the tortellini soup. There were a bunch of red lines in between the logs, and I didn't know why, but I don't see them now. It was just happening before, but not anymore. So it's a little weird, and I don't recall that ever happening in the past. I don't think it's my monitor. Nothing changed. If you're having trouble with that as well, let me know, because I don't know if this is just a thing on my end. If it is, then I have to figure out how to fix it. And if it's not, then that's something that the developer has to look into. So please leave a comment and let me know what your experience is. Okay, welcome to the voiceover part for the time-lapse. Man, it's been a long time since I had to do something like this. I haven't really had many Cosmic Reach videos, or any videos at all really, coming out recently. It's been a very difficult, especially the past couple of weeks for me. Just terrible things happening, basically, in my life. Actually, the past 2 weeks have probably been some of the worst weeks of my entire life thus far. So, and that's saying a lot. But anyway, enough with the negativity. So looking forward to survival. I haven't lost any of my anticipation for it, even though it's been quite a while since my first hopes arose for that version of the game to come out. It has been a while, but my anticipation is still there, and it seems like we're getting a lot of new fan music and some interesting screenshots and mods and stuff going on the Discord server. In the future with the community roundup videos, I don't plan on being as thorough as I have been with covering everything, just because it does add quite a bit of stress trying to remember everything and document everything. It's not really worth it. I think my original intention with the community roundup videos was just to showcase a little bit of the updates, just kind of skim over them, and then focus more on community screenshots and things like that. I think people in the future perhaps could use those videos as a kind of historical record or whatever. That really depends on how successful the game will be in the future. I have no big investment in something like that. There's no reason for me to be thinking that way. And again, I'm just doing all this for fun. So when it becomes a hassle to make videos, that's when I don't want to make videos anymore. So going forward, the community roundup videos will probably be more simple than they have been. Alright, I just finished. That took about, I don't know, 25 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. There's the big artifact wall at the edge of my world. I don't know what happened there, but it's kind of a cool effect. I planted a whole bunch of coconuts, and it looks like none of them have grown yet. And as I was planting them, I was basically just doing circles around the middle area. So I did a circle, and then I kind of spiraled out and went farther and farther. And I didn't place a bunch of them, I kind of spaced them out quite a lot, actually. I think if they were to grow, would they be far enough out? I think so. And if I kept going, I think it would look even better. But I probably will keep going if they grow. But as I was going more and more and more, I was becoming increasingly concerned that they don't grow on stone. Or maybe just on the moon generation world type. I'm really not sure. Honestly, if they don't end up growing, I guess I'll be fine with that. I can just kind of pretend like they grew. I don't know. I guess it's kind of a cool effect, like the trees burn down or something. Maybe I messed something up here. I need to honestly ask on the Discord server, because it's going to be a little disappointing if nothing happens. Or it could just take a little bit longer. Maybe it takes like an hour, but I really don't think so. If they need something like a block of grass below them, then I can go and dig up the stone and I can do that. It'll take a while, but it's better than them not growing at all. And you can see the dynamic sky lighting actually got a bit of an update. As the sun goes down, the sky becomes more pink rather than orange than it was before, a little bit more white. I like it more. I think the more that we can do in this game with the sky, the better, because it is space themed, and I think you're supposed to be able to go from planet to planet. If we can add, for example, images of planets in the sky that you can actually travel to and stuff like that, and maybe moons orbiting them and stars and stuff like that, I think that'd be really cool. I think that would add a lot. And not only that in the night sky, but also maybe just some kind of neat effects in the sky. Maybe like an aurora, if you're playing on some kind of Earth world generation. There currently isn't one, but I think there is one coming up soon with an upcoming update. He's been working on a new world generation type for quite a while that's more realistic. And maybe if we could have like northern lights in the sky, that'd be pretty cool. Really just anything. Maybe if there are enemy spaceships in the future, you'll be able to see like a big mothership approaching, and it'll be a massive image in the sky, kind of growing bigger and bigger as it approaches the player. I don't know, something cool like that. I've always been really fascinated with large objects in video games that you either can or can't reach. So for example, in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when you reach that area of the world, it's at the edge of the world where there's a big mountain and it's kind of storming, and you're standing on the edge of a cliff and you're looking up and down at this massive mountain, and it's very dark, it's kind of shadowy, and at the bottom there's just a little river, or a big river, I guess, because it surrounds the entire home continent, and it expands super high into the sky, and you can actually jump towards it, but I think you die if you try to go too close to it, and there's lightning and stuff, and that is one of I think the first time in any video game where, if you know anything about the philosophical idea of what's called the sublime, so a subliminal feeling, for example, is if you are outside at night and you kind of look up at the stars, if there are stars where you live and you don't live in a polluted city or something like that, and you get that feeling of how small you are compared to what's out there in the universe. You kind of get that feeling sinking in. Kind of feels like an out-of-body experience a little bit, like you're so insignificant. Or you might also get this feeling if you watch a very good YouTube video about outer space and just how small we are compared to the entire universe and what's out there. That's kind of what I'm getting at with this sublime. And that does trigger for me in video games, but it's very rare for that to happen. And usually it only happens when there's massive structures that are just so huge that you could never imagine, like in a game like this, you could never imagine actually building something like it by hand. And one example of that would be like a mob spaceship in the sky, or a massive planet nearby that's just kind of rotating. You know it's super far away, but it has that effect of just being so huge and just otherworldly. And that really has a big effect on me, personally. There haven't been many games that have done that before. I think there's been like 2 or 3 I recall having that experience with. I can't remember what the other ones were, but one of them for sure was that moment in Breath of the Wild. And yeah, that really had an impact on me, so I think something like that could be a good idea for this game. Again, since it's space-themed, I think that would fit pretty well. Just anything that you can put in the sky. If you look up, there's so much space. There's so much of the world that's up there that's not down here. And actually, I do think about that in real life as well. If you are just kind of like walking on the street and you look up, you notice that we as a civilization are living on kind of a 2-dimensional grid, just on the surface of the Earth, and there's very little that's up in the air, and there's almost nothing that's in kind of the airplane zone, except airplanes really, and blimps and stuff. And if somehow we as a society could build upwards and then expand out with flying cars, or I know that it's like a fantasy thing, but floating islands and stuff like that, it would really add a lot of depth to the world, because when you think about it, we are kind of living on a flat 2-dimensional plane, and there's a whole 3rd dimension that we could be playing with, but sadly it's not that easy in real life to do that without something like an airplane, and obviously floating islands aren't exactly realistic. So, for something like Cosmic Reach that's not real life, perhaps that could be a good idea. And as the sun goes down, you can see that glorious lighting. Yeah, actually, it's kind of interesting how if you look out and the world generation stops, how the band of red kind of looks... That's pretty cool, actually. I don't know what shape that would be, kind of an X, and it gets thinner and thinner. And then you can see the darkness down below and the darkness up above. I don't know. Kind of cool. I've always been a fan of the dynamic lighting ever since it was released in this game. And it looks like my trees are still not growing. I'm going to switch over to Earth Day. So whatever the deal is with these trees, I hope, I really hope that I can get them to grow somehow, either with planting dirt or grass below, or maybe in a future update. I don't know if this is a bug or an overlooked thing or what. I really hope it works out. Maybe I need more lights, although I don't think so, because I have the correct skylighting coming down on them. So maybe you can tell me in the comments, maybe I'll ask on the Discord server, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to move on from this project. If I can get the trees to grow in the future, like I said, I'll plant more, but for now I think that's going to be it. And yeah, I just wanted to make a small video for today. I think I'll be doing more with this world going forward in the coming days and weeks, because I do sense that a proper alpha survival version is going to be coming out eventually. And I don't want to just leave this world hanging with what we have right now. I do want to go ahead and build the block gallery here, the exhibit. That'll be the pre-alpha gallery. And then I also want to make an underground tunnel path. If we ever get rails or something in this game, that'll link to each of my builds. So for example, if I go down here, I actually already started it. I haven't shown this yet, but I blew up a little area down here with C4 and I put a green light. I think if I had green lighting down here going in all these different directions like a railroad system, that'd be pretty cool. So that's a build that I want to do. And then I still want to do the build over here inside of this mountain, this little hilly area. I'm not sure if it's going to be a power plant or what, but I want to have something kind of interesting inside the stone here. And I think that's all of the builds I want to do right now in this world, at least. The other thing, of course, is the head of the observatory, which has needed to get done for a very long time. Pretty much a few days after I first built this world, I wanted to do this, but I never got around to it. So I'll do that eventually. Maybe that's the last thing I'll do. Not really sure. Anyway, that's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching.